your host Isham Jamil Economy Wala, and I hope you all are doing well. And welcome everyone to today's insightful session and interview with Sise Maya and a brilliant thinker and voice on global changes. Today, we will deep dive
Hi,
into the
Emily.
one of the most pressing of our time, climate change. From understanding its causes to exploring solutions, we aim to uncover practical strategies that can guide us toward a sustainable and resilient future. So let's begin this powerful
Ah,
conversation along Maya. So first of all, hello Maya, how are you doing? Are you good today?
hey, I'm doing all right. Climate change, huh? Definitely a big one. Good to jump right in. What's on your
Maya, I'm going to discuss some important things that why climate change is happening, what are the main issues, what are the main causes of it, and how can we solve it, how can we reduce global warming, and how can we rapid climate change. So that was all the thing that I'm going to discuss with you. So are you ready? Can we start our today's podcast?
sounds good. Let's do it. Ready when you are. Where do you want to start? Causes,
Maya,
issues,
I
or
want to I want to start by understanding the basics and the thing that most of the people don't know. So then, when we done, they will understand the basics. Then we can easily continue to the ex- expert level question. First of all, Maya, please, I am requesting you explain everything in detail because I just answered. You just answered into one or two lines. It is not helpful for us to understand it and learn something new. So if you will answer in detail, so it will help us to understand it and learn new things. So I hope you will cooperate with us. And first of all, Maya, can you tell us that how would you define climate change in simple terms?
gotcha. You're right to call me out on the brief answers. I can definitely elaborate. Sorry about that. I'll aim for more detail. Okay, so climate change, in simple terms, is a long term shift in global or regional climate patterns. It's not just about the weather getting warmer, although that's a big part of it. It refers to changes in temperature, precipitation, wind patterns, and other elements of the climate system that last for decades or longer. Basically, the Earth's climate has always varied naturally, but what we're seeing now is happening much faster than anything we've observed in the past, and it's largely due to human activities. It's a shift from what's been the normal for a really long time. Does that make sense as a starting point?
Yes, Maya, I think that truly makes sense as a starting point. It was a great explanation. Thanks so much for breaking down. And I can tell us what is the difference between climate change and global warming? Because I think these are the uh, uh, both are different from each other.
You're welcome. Good question. A lot of people use the terms interchangeably, but they're not quite the same thing. Global warming refers specifically to the increase in Earth's average surface temperature due to the greenhouse effect caused by increased levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Climate change is broader. It encompasses not only the rising average temperatures, it's the global warming part, but also the effects those rising temperatures have on things like sea levels, extreme weather events, precipitation patterns, and ecosystems. So, global warming is one aspect of climate change, but climate change includes everything that's happening as a result of that warming. Think of it like this: global warming is a symptom, and climate change is the illness.
Okay, that's nice, Maya. It's mean that these both are the different things. Okay, so my question is why is climate change considered the biggest challenge of 21st century?
Okay, that's a solid question. Climate change is considered the biggest challenge of the 21st century for a lot of reasons, but it really boils down to the sheer scale and scope of the problem and the potential consequences if we don't address it. First, it's a global issue. It doesn't respect borders, and every country is affected in some way. That makes international cooperation really difficult, but absolutely essential. Second, the consequences are far reaching. We're talking about things like food and water shortages, mass displacement of people, increased frequency of extreme weather events, damage to ecosystems, and potential for conflict over dwindling resources. It threatens pretty much every aspect of modern life. And third, it's a long-term problem with short-term political pressures. The most serious impacts are predicted to happen decades from now, which makes it harder to prioritize over more immediate concerns. Plus, the solutions often require significant upfront investment in the way we do things, which can be politically unpopular. It's a massive, complex, urgent issue, which is why it's considered such a huge challenge.
Okay, that's nice, Yasmin. It was like climate change. That's why climate change is the biggest challenge of 21st century. And I can tell us what role do human activities play in accelerating climate change?
All right, so this is where it gets really direct. Human activities are the primary driver of the accelerated climate change we're seeing today. For centuries, but especially since the Industrial Revolution, we've been burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, to power our economies. Burning these fuels releases greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane to the atmosphere. These gases trap heat, creating what's called the greenhouse effect. Now, the greenhouse effect itself isn't bad, it's what keeps the Earth warm enough to support life. But by dramatically increasing the concentration of these gases, we're intensifying the effect, causing the planet to warm at an alarming rate. Deforestation also plays a big role because trees absorb carbon dioxide. When we cut down forests, that carbon gets released back into the atmosphere. Other human activities like agriculture and certain industrial processes also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Essentially, we've mentally altered the Earth's atmospheric composition through our actions.
Okay, that's right, Maya. Can tell us how much impact do natural factors like volcanoes or solar cycles have compared to human activities?
That's a smart question. It's important to understand the full picture. Natural factors like volcanic eruptions and solar cycles absolutely do influence the climate, but their impact is relatively small compared to human activities. Volcanoes, when they erupt, can release gases and particles into the atmosphere that can temporarily cool the planet by reflecting sunlight. But these effects usually last only a few years. Solar cycles, changes in the sun's energy output, also cause natural fluctuations in climate, but these are relatively minor and predictable. Scientists have studied these natural factors extensively, and they simply can't explain the amount of warming we've seen over the past century. The overwhelming consensus among climate scientists is that human activities are responsible for over 95% of the observed warming since the mid 20th century. Natural factors are still at play, but they're being dwarfed by the impact of greenhouse gas emissions from human sources. Does that help clarify the scale of things?
Yes, I think that totally clarifies the things that I would really want is about that. And by now can tell us that how much impact do natural factors like volcanoes or solar cycles have compared to the human activities.
My apologies. I think I repeated myself there. You're right to point that out. I got stuck in explanation mode. To put it into numbers, scientists estimate that natural factors have contributed only a small fraction of the warming observed since the Industrial Revolution, less than zero point 0.1 degrees Celsius. Human activities, on the other hand, have contributed over 1 degree Celsius of warming. To visually illustrate, imagine a seesaw. Natural factors are adding a small weight to one side, while human activities are piling on a massive weight to the other. The seesaw is clearly tipping in the direction of human influence. It's not that natural factors are insignificant, it's just that human activities are overpowering them. Is that clear?
Yes, Maya, I think that totally clarifies things. And Maya, can you tell us that uh, how is climate change affecting global weather patterns? Because I think it is changing the patterns of global climate and the weather of global.
Absolutely. But climate change is fundamentally disrupting global weather patterns. It's not just about things getting generally warmer, it's about making weather events more extreme and unpredictable. We're seeing increased frequency and intensity of heat waves, droughts, and wildfires in some regions, while other areas are experiencing more intense rainfall, flooding, and storms. Warmer temperatures mean more moisture in the atmosphere, which fuels these extreme events. Changes in atmospheric circulation patterns are also causing weather systems to stall for longer periods, leading to prolonged droughts or extended periods of rainfall. We're also seeing shifts in seasonal patterns, earlier springs, later autumns, and changes in the timing of monsoon seasons. Basically, the climate system is becoming more unstable and erratic, leading to more frequent and severe weather disasters. It's like shaking up a snow globe. Everything gets a little chaotic.
Okay, that's great, Maya. Good to hear about it. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And Maya, can you tell us that how does climate change impact biodiversity and wildlife?
Okay, that's a crucial point. Climate change is having a devastating impact on biodiversity and wildlife. Species are struggling to adapt to the rapidly changing conditions, and many are facing extinction. Rising temperatures, altered precipitation patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events are destroying habitats and disrupting ecosystems. For example, coral reefs are bleaching due to warmer ocean temperatures, impacting the countless marine species that depend on them. Animals are being forced to migrate to find suitable habitats, but they often face barriers or competition with other species. Changes in flowering and breeding times are disrupting food chains, and invasive species are thriving in the altered conditions. It's a cascade effect. Essentially, climate change is causing widespread habitat loss, species decline, and ecosystem disruption, threatening the intricate web of life on Earth.
Okay, that's great. That was an amazing explanation. Good to hear about it. And right now, can you tell us that how does climate change contribute to the rising sea levels?
All right, so there are two main ways climate change contributes to rising sea levels. The first is through thermal expansion. As the ocean warms up, the water expands, taking up more space. Think of it like heating up water in a pot. It rises. This effect alone accounts for about half of the sea level rise we've observed. The second, and increasingly significant, factor is the melting of glaciers and ice sheets. As global temperatures rise, glaciers and ice sheets in places like Greenland and Antarctica are melting at an accelerated rate, adding water to the ocean. The combination of thermal expansion and melting ice is causing sea levels to rise globally, threatening coastal communities and ecosystems. It's a slow but relentless process, and the rate of sea level rise is accelerating.
Okay, that's great. It's
Still with
been
me?
that also contributing to sea levels of rising. And by now, can you share that? Can you highlight some examples of climate disaster in South Asia?
Absolutely. South Asia is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and we've already seen a number of devastating disasters in recent years. The 2022 Pakistan floods were a prime example. Unprecedented monsoon rains, exacerbated by climate change, led to catastrophic flooding that affected over 33 million people. Then there's the increasing frequency of heat waves in India and Pakistan, resulting in thousands of deaths. Bangladesh is highly vulnerable to sea level rise and cyclones, with events like Cyclone Amphan in 2020 causing widespread damage and displacement. We're also seeing glacial lake outbursts, floods in the Himalayas, like the one in Chamoli, India, in 2021, which caused significant damage downstream. And changing monsoon patterns are leading to droughts in some areas and floods in others, impacting agriculture and livelihoods across the region. Consequences of climate change and the urgent need for action.
Okay, that's great, Maya. That was a great explanation to understand it. But Maya, now can you share that what role does geography play in the country's vulnerability?
That's a really important point. Geography plays a huge role in determining a country's vulnerability to climate change. In South Asia, several geographical factors increase risk. First, the region has a long coastline, making it highly susceptible to sea level rise, storm surges, and cyclones, like we just discussed with Bangladesh. Second, the Himalayas, the water tower of Asia, are warming faster than the global average, leading to glacial melt and increased risk of glacial lake outburst floods. Third, a large percentage of the population lives in low-lying river deltas, like the Ganges Brahmaputra Delta, which are particularly vulnerable to flooding. Fourth, the region is heavily reliant on agriculture, and many areas are already facing water stress. Finally, high population density exacerbates the impacts of climate-related disasters. Essentially, the combination of geographical features and socioeconomic factors makes South Asia one of the most climate vulnerable regions in the world.
Okay, that's great. But why can you tell us that how does climate change can affect the global economy?
Okay, let's talk about the economic impacts. Climate change is poised to significantly disrupt the global economy in a variety of ways. Direct impacts include damage to infrastructure from extreme weather events, reduced agricultural yields due to droughts and floods, and disruptions to supply chains. These damages translate into huge economic costs for rebuilding, lost productivity, and increased food prices. But the indirect impacts can be even more substantial. Climate change can lead to increased migration and displacement, putting strain on social and economic systems. It can also exacerbate existing inequalities and lead to political instability. Sectors like tourism, fisheries, and forestry are particularly vulnerable. And the cost of transitioning to a low carbon economy, while necessary, also requires significant investment. Some studies estimate that climate change could reduce global GDP by as much as 11 to 14% by 2050 if we don't take decisive action. It's not just an environmental issue, it's a massive economic risk.
It's saying that it is so much dangerous for all the world. Okay, so that's it, Maya. Now, I can tell us that what are the most effective solutions to combat climate change?
You're right, it's a very serious situation. Okay, so let's talk solutions. There's no single silver bullet, it requires a multi pronged approach. First and foremost, we need to drastically reduce greenhouse gas emissions by transitioning to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal. Improving energy efficiency is also key. Secondly, we need to protect and restore forests, which act as carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Sustainable agriculture practices can also help reduce emissions and improve soil health. Thirdly, we need to invest in adaptation measures to help communities cope with the impacts of climate change that are already happening. Things like building seawalls, developing drought resistant crops, and improving disaster preparedness. Carbon capture and storage technologies could also play a role, but they're still under development. Finally, international cooperation and policy changes are essential to ensure that all countries are working together to address this global challenge. It's a massive undertaking, but it's absolutely necessary. Still here? Anything you'd like me to expand on?
No need to explain anything, Maya. It was a great explanation. Just chill, and it was like enough explanation for it.
Gotcha.
Can Maya, can you tell
Glad to hear.
me now? Can you tell me that can individual lifestyle change make a real difference?
That's a really good question. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and think that individual actions don't matter in the face of such a huge problem, but they absolutely do. While systemic change is critical, policy changes and corporate action, individual lifestyle changes can collectively make a significant difference. Things like reducing meat consumption, choosing, sustainable transportation options like walking, cycling, or public transport, reducing energy consumption at home, avoiding single-use plastics, and supporting sustainable businesses all contribute to lowering your carbon footprint. Also about changing mindsets and advocating for change within your communities and influencing those around you. It's not just about what you do as an individual, but the ripple effect you can create. Plus, it sends a signal to businesses and policymakers that there's demand for more sustainable options. It's a piece of the puzzle and a surprisingly powerful one.
Okay, that's great, Maya.
Anything else on that
Good to hear about
topic?
it. No, Maya, nothing else about the topic, but something more questions like which is different from this. Like, can you tell us that how is AI is being used to fight climate change?
That's a fascinating question. You're talking about carbon capture, utilization, and storage, US. Basically, it's a set of technologies designed to capture carbon dioxide emissions from sources like power plants and industrial facilities, and either store it underground or use it to create other products. Think of it like vacuuming up CO2 before it gets into the atmosphere. There are a couple of different approaches. Some involve capturing CO2 directly from the air. That's called direct air capture, while others capture it at the source. Once captured, the CO2 can be stored in geological formations deep underground, or it can be used to make things like building materials, fuels, or even chemicals. It's still a relatively new technology and can be expensive, but it has the potential to play a significant role in reducing emissions, especially in sectors where it's difficult to decarbonize completely. It's not a silver bullet, but it's a promising tool in the fight against climate change.
Okay, yes, you're totally right. It is a tool to fight with the climate change. You are totally right. And by now, can you tell us that how can schools can educate students about the climate change effectively?
That's a great question. Schools play a crucial role in preparing the next generation to tackle climate change. Effective climate change education shouldn't just be about the science, though that's important. It needs to be interdisciplinary. It can be integrated into subjects like science, social studies, geography, and even art and literature. Hands on learning experiences like school gardens, energy audits, and community projects can be really effective. It's also important to focus on solutions, not just the problems, to avoid feelings of despair or helplessness. Empowering students to take action, whether it's reducing waste at school or advocating for climate friendly policies, is key. Furthermore, schools should encourage critical thinking skills, allowing students to evaluate information from different sources and form their own informed opinions. Finally, involving parents in the wider community in climate education can amplify the message and create a culture of sustainability. It's about fostering informed, engaged, and empowered climate citizens.
Okay,
Sound good?
that's great explanation. And now, can you tell us that now mentor time is almost completed? So, in last, if you could share one final call to action for the world, what would it be? Please entertain.
That's a big ask. If I could offer one final call to action, it would be this: embrace a sense of collective responsibility. Climate change is a global problem that requires a global solution. We all have a role to play: individuals, communities, businesses, and governments. Don't wait for someone else to take the lead. Start making changes in your own life, advocate for change in your community, and demand action from your leaders. And remember, every action, no matter how small, contributes to a more sustainable future. It's not just about saving the planet, it's about creating a better world for ourselves and generations to come. Let's work together with urgency and determination to build that future.
Okay, that's great, Maya. That was a great explanation. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I truly enjoyed the conversation. And you have given such a beautiful insights on the climate change. And this conversation has truly highlighted the what while the challenges are enormous, the solution are within our reach if we act together with responsibility and urgency. To all listeners, remember every small step counts, whether it's saving energy, planting tree, or spreading awareness, your contribution matters. Let's stay committed to protecting our planet because a greener, safer, and healthier Earth is possible but only if we act now. Until next time, stay inspired, stay aware, and let's build a sustainable future together. Until next time, Allah Hafiz, and in and as always, Pakistan, Zindabad, Allah Hafiz.